powered versus passive. Hey guys, and welcome back to another Random Distractions video. This is a continuation on my comparison series of the Arendal 1723S THX tower speakers. In the previous video, I compared them against some Klipsch speakers, including the La Scalas. And I did want to make a quick note on the La Scalas. I did make a mistake on that video. I had said that they start to roll off at 107 Hertz, but I was actually looking at the SPL line instead of the frequency line. So they actually start to roll off at around 51 Hertz, but they're still at 107 dB at that 51 Hertz. I will try to be more careful about that and want to say a quick thanks to Craig Flowers Music for pointing that out. As I mentioned before, I'm part of an AVS Forum group. The link will be down in the description if you're in the DFW area and would like to join. But I had reached out to them to see if anybody would be interested in letting me bring the 1723S to them to compare to what they had, and I did have a couple of takers. One of those goes by username JustEric78, and thank you for letting me bring those out there to your home. And we're going to be comparing them against his Def Tech BP9060 tower speakers. As a reminder, I wanted to keep some of the parameters the same, so I'll be using my Peachtree Carina to power the speakers. And the first thing that I do is I usually listen to some songs that I'm familiar with the person's speakers, just to kind of get a feel for them. And then for the actual recording, I use one song that's copyright free that I'm able to record at all of the different sessions. That song would be played at the same volume on the Peachtree Carina, which is -20. And rather than trying to match the levels, I thought this would kind of show how different speaker sensitivities would affect the volume. First, I'm going to share the audio recordings that I got at the location. Then we'll go over the REW measurements and then some final thoughts. Before we go to the first recording, I did want to mention that I'm just going to do the 1723S in ported mode, just because the Def Techs have 10-inch powered subwoofers, so it didn't really make any sense to do sealed ones. So first up, the Arendal 1723S. All right, and now the Def Tech BP9060s. All right, let's take a look at the REW measurements for that song. All right, so here we are in REW, and here are the Arendals, and to me they seem pretty linear. And now let's turn on the Def Techs. As you can see, that powered subwoofer definitely makes a difference. Although I shared the recording of the Arendals first, in person I actually listened to the Def Techs first, and I knew right away that the Arendals would not be able to compete at this lower range. There's a difference of, let's see, so at 53 Hertz, we're at 102 for the Arendals, and at 53, we're at 113 for the Def Techs. There are some other noticeable differences, like in this area here where the Arendals do a little bit better. And then down here, the Def Tech seem to have a little bit more higher frequency. As I did before, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the psychoacoustic smoothing. So we'll apply that. And here you can see that the Arendals do seem more linear, while the Def Techs have a little more variation to them. Those are the measurements, but what did Just Eric 78 and I think? As I said, I did listen to the Def Techs first to kind of get a feel for them, and right away I knew that the bass was not going to be comparable at all for sure. They do feature a powered 10-inch subwoofer, and it does make a big difference. If you are someone that likes bass and don't want to add a subwoofer or don't really have the room for one or two, then definitely these are a good option. You can adjust the volume on the subwoofer, so I'm sure you'll be able to find a good balance or imbalance of bass that sounds good to you. Just Eric 78 was actually surprised at how they sounded. He has dual 18-inch PSAs, if I remember correctly, so he normally doesn't listen to the Def Techs on their own, and he was really surprised at how good the bass response was with those 10-inch powered subwoofers. So he did prefer the Def Techs. As I mentioned in my last video, going to these different places and comparing all these different speakers, I do believe that there is a speaker out there for everyone and their listening preferences. I know that looking at the graph, the Arendals being more linear, I'm sure would probably provide a more accurate sound. However, I do have to admit that the Def Techs were fun to listen to. Currently, the Arendal 1723S are going for $3,099 a pair. And while the BP9060 unfortunately is no longer made, Def Tech does offer one called the DM70, which also has a similar 10-inch powered subwoofer for $1999 each, or $3,998 a pair. If you have subs or are planning to get subs, I don't know that there's that much of an advantage for going the Def Tech route. However, if you don't have the room for subs or are not planning to have subs but still like a lot of bass, then I would definitely say consider these. Well, that's all that I have for this video. I would definitely appreciate a like, of course, on this one, and make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you'll be notified when the next one drops. The next comparison is going to be against some Polk and Martin Logan speakers, so stay tuned for that. Until then, I hope you have a good one.